So today we're going to explore a really simple way to draw a map for our thoughts. It's a beautiful method for bringing clarity to big, complex ideas, and it's called a class diagram. Think of this less like a formal lesson and more like a quiet sketching session for your mind.
You ever have one of those moments? You've got this brilliant, complicated idea spinning around in your head, but when you try to explain it out loud, it just comes out all jumbled. It kind of feels like you're trying to describe a city you know by heart, but you don't have a map to show anyone. It can be really frustrating.
Well, what if you could actually sketch that map? A simple blueprint that lays out all the main parts of your idea, and more importantly, shows exactly how they all connect to each other. That sense of clarity, well, that's the feeling we're aiming for today.
And believe me, this isn't just some abstract thought exercise. This way of thinking, this idea of creating clear blueprints, is actually the hidden foundation of the apps you use every single day. It's how developers wrestle with all that complexity and keep things from turning into chaos. It's how they make sure all the different parts of an app just work together. And once you understand it, you'll start to see the digital world around you in a whole new way.
All right, let's start drawing our map. First things first, we need to understand the most basic symbol, the fundamental building block of this whole thing. It all starts with one simple shape.
And that shape represents what we call a class. Now, a class is just a blueprint for a single concept. It's not a specific, tangible thing, but the idea of that thing. You can think of it like a general definition or a template for one kind of thing.
Let's use an example we can all picture. We're going to create a blueprint for a book. For now, it's just an empty box. This box represents the general concept of any book, not one in particular. This is our first and most important building block. Simple, right?
Now, this is where the magic really starts to happen. With this one single blueprint, we can create lots of specific individual things. We call those things objects. So, from our general book blueprint, we could create a specific object for Dracula and a totally separate one for Dune. See how that works? It's one idea that leads to many unique creations.
So an empty box is a nice start, but a really useful blueprint needs a little more detail, doesn't it? So let's start adding the important information that really brings our blueprint to life.
First up, we add what are called attributes. These are just the properties or characteristics of our concept. So, for a book, what kind of information would pretty much every book have? Things like a title or maybe a publication date. Those are its attributes.
So we just add a new section to our blueprint box. Right here in our book class, we can list its attributes. We've got title, which is a string of text, and birth date, which would be its publication date. See, our map is already getting more detailed and way more useful.
But things in the world don't just have characteristics, they also do things. These actions are called operations. They're basically the functions an object can perform, or put another way, the things we can do with it.
And with that, we have the complete structure. We add a third and final compartment for operations. Now, just to show you what this looks like, we've put in a couple of generic examples here, like change job or change address. Obviously, these don't really apply to a book, but they show you where the actions would go in any blueprint you make, whether it's for a person, a product, or a user account. The structure is what's key here. A name at the top, its attributes in the middle, and its operations at the bottom.
Okay, so a single blueprint is really useful, but the real power, that comes from connecting them together. Let's go back to our example and see how our book blueprint might relate to another idea.
Let's make a second blueprint, this time for an author. Just like our book class, this box represents the general idea of an author. So now we have two separate ideas sitting side by side. The question is, how do we show that they're related?
Well, it's pretty simple. We connect them using something called an association. An association is really just a line. It's a line that shows there's a relationship between two classes. It's the path on our map that connects one spot to another.
So we just draw a line between author and book. We can even add a little word to describe what that relationship is. This simple line now tells a story. An author writes a book. The connection is perfectly clear.
But we can get even more specific. We can add little numbers to the ends of the line to describe exactly how many things are involved in this relationship. It's a concept called multiplicity.
Let's just look at the most common symbols you'll see. The number 1 is easy. It means exactly 1. An asterisk or a star means many. That could be 0, 1, or 100.
And 1.* means one or more, so it can't be 0. Simple, right? But incredibly powerful.
So let's add these to our map. We'll put a 1 next to the author and an asterisk over by the book. And now our diagram tells a very precise story. Exactly one author can write many books. With just a few simple symbols, we've mapped out a whole relationship with perfect clarity.
And just like that, you've learned the basic language for drawing maps of your own ideas. You've seen how to take a big, messy thought and turn it into a simple, clear, and organized blueprint.
When you boil it all down, it really is just these 3 simple steps. First, you start by defining your main concepts, your blueprints or classes. Second, you fill in their important details, their attributes and operations. And finally, you connect the blocks with associations to show how everything relates.
So, here's a quiet little takeaway for you. The next time you're using one of your favorite apps, just take a moment. Try to imagine the blueprints working away behind the screen. Can you sort of see the classes, the attributes, the relationships connecting everything? You might just be surprised at the clarity you find.
And that really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? Clarity isn't about knowing everything. It's about seeing how the simple pieces fit. It's about that calm, satisfying feeling you get when all the connections finally click into place. Thank you for joining me on this little exploration.